Hello sweeties, welcome back with So we still saying. In today's video we are going to be learning how to cut an off shoulder armhole princess dart bustier. You can see that the dart line is coming from the armhole. If this sounds like what you're interested in, come along with me. So we are going to be working with this beautiful African print, and the basic measurements required to cut a style like this is the bust, the waist, the half length, nipple to nipple, shoulder to under the bust, and maybe the armhole. I'm going to list all of it on the screen. So I proceeded to bringing out my fabric. I'm going to be cutting directly on my fabric. I'm not cutting on pattern paper and transferring to the fabric. So I measured her bust divided by 4. She's 38 divided by 4. I added 5 inches allowance. The fabric is on fold of 2, so that's 10 inches allowance to the front panel. And then to the back panel, I added 4 inches allowance. That's 8 inches allowance because each panel is on fold of 2. Then proceed to arranging your fabric the way I arranged it, leaving zipper allowance at the back. I'm going to be cutting for front and back at the same time. The next thing to do is to mark the half length. Our half length is 16, then I added 2 inches allowance. I want this off shoulder bustier to be 6 inches low. This depends on how low you want yours to be. So what you are going to do is you are going to draw an imaginary 6 inches. Like, just look at the way I'm placing my tape through. I'm imagining that the piece is extended upward, like it's a whole complete half length piece. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. So draw that imaginary line. After, then proceed to marking the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half inch allowance. Connect that into a straight line. Now you are going to extend your nipple to nipple line up to that your imaginary line that you have drawn, depending on the number you are using, and the number depends on how low you want the off shoulder to be. The next is to mark shoulder to nipple plus half inch, shoulder to under bust plus half inch. Connect those two lines into straight lines. The next thing is to mark your shoulder. You are going to be marking your shoulder on the imaginary line that you have drawn. You are not going to start from the zipper allowance. You're going to give the zipper allowance out. Then our shoulder is 16 divided by 2. I marked 8. Then after, then you are going to be marking out our armhole. This person's armhole is actually 18 divided by 2 is supposed to give me 9, but for now I'm going to be marking 7.5. After, then we are going to mark on the nipple to nipple line on the half length region. We are going to mark 2 or 2.5 inches forward. You can even mark 3. It depends on how busty the person is or how big you want your cup to be. In this case, I'm marking 2.5. Then you are going to extend that line up to shoulder to under your bust line. The next thing to do is to draw your cup. Your cup is going to touch your shoulder to nipple line, and then it's going to touch your armhole in this case. After this, we are going to trace out our princess cut for the back panel. So you're just going to lift the front piece up a little and proceed to tracing out the princess cuts for the back. The back is not going to have cup, definitely. So you are just going to trace it out the way I'm doing. It is that simple. After tracing it out, we are basically done with the back panel. The next thing is to start transferring our basic body measurement. So you are going to divide your bust by 4. As is 38 divided by 4 gives me 9.5. Then I'm going to be adding 2 inches sewing allowance. After, then I'm going to measure our waist on our waistline. Our waist is 33 divided by 4. Then that 2.5 inches allowance that I marked out, I'm going to measure it before measuring 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect those 2 points together. I mean the bust point and then the waist point, and proceed to cutting it out. After cutting it out, I'm going to put the front aside and proceed to cutting out the back panel. Then for the front, I'm going to gently cut it across the cup, and the 2.5 inches allowance that we marked out, we are going to cut it out. That is the only part we are discarding or throwing away. And when I was done cutting, this is what I have. The next is to cut lining. Is just to place this on lining and cut it out with the exact measurement. But before then, if you don't want your neckline to just be straight, you can just give it a little bit sweetheart, or maybe V neck or round neck, depending on the kind of neck you want. In this case, I cut sweetheart neck, and then I want the back to be a little bit lower than the front. The back is a V neck, so I'm just going to go downward with 3 inches, and then I'm going to draw out my V neck. After this, we are going to proceed to padding our front panel. And to pad, you are going to cut out your pad the normal way you pad with whatever you use. In this case, I'm using soft breast pad, and after attaching the breast pad to it, this is what I have. To the sewing now, you are going to pick up one side and join it to the middle panel for the front piece. Don't forget that right side has to be on right side for you to achieve this properly. So pin it to the left and pin it to the right, just like I'm doing. Repeat the same thing to the lining, and basically that is it for the front panel. For the back as well, you are going to pin right side to right side. I love pinning from down because I love to start my journey from down. I feel it's more easier to start journey from down than to start joining from up. So pin right side to right side for the main fabric, as well as the lining, pin right side to the right side, and basically that's it. I'm going to take all of that to my sewing machine and join them together and bring it back for you guys to see. So when I was done joining, I proceeded to notching the part where the pad is, so that the cup can come out very very well. Just notch like 4 or 5 places around the region where you gum your pad, so that the cup can come out properly. And when I was done notching and flipping to the right side, I've not even pressed at this point, and the cup is already cupping, so to speak. Like the cup is pronounced the way I was watching out for it to be. So this is for the front, the main fabric, and here is the lining. The next thing to do is to give this a very good press as much as you can. And when I was done pressing, this is what I have. If you want yours to be a tube, if you are sewing a tube, all you need to do at this point is just to turn the neckline, turn the armhole, turn the shaping side, and basically that's it. And attach whatever it is you want to attach to the down. Maybe a peplum, it might be a top, or maybe a gown, or whatever it is. But in my case, I'm cutting a strap dress, so I'm going to be attaching the strap to it. You remember that when I was cutting it, I made it 6 inches off, so I'm going to be cutting a strap that is 12 inches long. That's for the front and for the back, and the wideness is going to be 4.5, so that when I'm done turning the strap, it's going to be 2 inches wide. So I'm just trying to like measure to be sure that the 12 inches is going to be enough before I cut it out. So you just have to figure out the underbust, which is obvious. Like you can obviously see the underbust, and then whatever is up is the strap. It should be the number you left when you were cutting it, if you've joined your half length properly. And then from the middle of the neckline, I'm going to go sideways with 6 inches to the left and to the right, and that is where I'll sew my strap on. So at this point, I was done cutting and turning the strap. It measures 13 by 2. I'm going to use half inch to join it to the front and half inch to join it to the back to make it 12. And I just placed it on where I want to join it. Then I took that to my sewing machine and attached it to the front. So the back, just place the back the proper way you're supposed to place it. This way I'm placing it, and let the wrong side for the front be facing the wrong side for the back. And then you figure out where the strap is going to fall, like where the strap is going to be at the back panel as well. Then just pin that down and stitch it down. So when I was done doing all of this, I proceeded to turning my neckline. I turned the armhole, I turned the shaping side. For the back, I turned the zip side. And when I was done doing this, this is what I have. Like I said earlier, depending on what you are cutting, if you are cutting a top, at this point you just proceed to shaping, and then you fix your peplum. But I'm cutting a fitted dress, a pencil dress, so I'm going to be attaching the lower part to it, but I'll be doing that off camera because this video is centered on the off shoulder princess that bustier. So please, if at this point you are still with me, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get notified when next I upload new video. Please share my video as much as you can. So this is me right here, just confirming. I put the 14, which is under bust, under the bust, and the whole length I have was 16 and a half. The half-inch allowance is what I'll use to join the lower part of the dress to it. And when I was done, this is what I have. This dress is actually an inner for this particular two piece. I'm going to be uploading how to cut and sew these two bubu very soon. If you are interested, please let me know in the comment section. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask me in the comment section as well. Thank you so much for sticking with me from the beginning till this point. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.